this going, we going. You know I'm going. So if this going, we going. It's time. Kidding. Thank you. He, she's, theys, thems, the gays, the girls, the guys, everybody who's taken the time out of their day to join my class and listen to this lecture. I want to give my sincerest gratitude, or at least show my thanks, because I understand not only are these topics complex, but I do like to talk a lot and use a lot of words to explain direct things. But in a world where your attention could be going anywhere, it could be going to things that destroy your brain, destroy your life, it could be going to things that distract you from how difficult reality is to exist in. You're choosing to put your mind on something that is going to help you grow, help you continue to dig into the limitless potential that you have in this very limited body, in this very constricted society. So hell yeah, my cosmic nomad, rebel soul. I'm proud of you for choosing the path that is yourself, in spite of the literal apocalypse taking our world away from us. I'm proud of you. And I hope you always know that when you show up to class, my class at least, and you're watching these videos, this is more than just engagement or entertainment. This is about allowing you an opportunity to rediscover who you could be in spite of what you think you are limited to being. That's why we're not only going to present new topics, we're going to transform or reconfigure how we look at topics we used to understand to hopefully give us better leverage in getting what we want or transforming our reality into something that can create those opportunities for us. A lot of the limitations that I've realized on my spiritual journey, and just as my journey as a human being in this spiritual reality, is we place limitations on ourselves to justify why we don't continue to pursue the curiosity or the chase of making the thing that we genuinely want happen. We choose the convenience of, that black person or that woman's taking my job. Or it's too hot outside, I don't want to go and work out today. Or we're waking up that early to go show up to do this. I'm not going to do that shit. Are you kidding me? I'm just going to sleep in all day. And there's what I want to reinforce with a lot of these videos that I'm making is that you as an individual, at least over your own reality, have so much more control than you believe you may have. You may have even made decisions that have given away the control that you think you have over your life. And now you feel like you're enslaved to certain responsibilities or obligations that you may have. But I want to continue to reinforce that even any drop of power that you may have will come from taking responsibility for that life that you are living in right now. And the more you do so, it's weird, the more you take responsibility for your life, no matter how shitty it is, the more you have an opportunity to influence what your life can become, and the more power you have and the more energy you have to give the fullness of whatever you are to making that happen. And then you realize it's not about getting there. This is why we say time is not real. It's not about getting to that destination. It's about who you become on the journey and how deeply you're able to grow into loving and caring and being yourself in a reality that offers you identity at the mercy of actually having your own identity or being able to create your own. Forgive me. What's so interesting about an episode like this is we may not have time to get into it, at least as deep as I'd like to, but this comes from understanding not only the current timeline that we live on and how everybody is subjected to a timeline that is rooted in religious psychosis, fear of damnation, but truly thinking about how different types of people, especially people who are rejected from society, have to perceive time as they are not accommodated to be on the same trajectory or timeline as the average person, but they're forced to accommodate themselves and serve society as if they do have those accommodations. I'm thinking about neurodivergent people who live on a different time. And because we live on a different time, we perceive reality differently. Where neurotypicals can abandon the mind and get into the body to focus on the work they have to do, we have to medicate ourselves, more times than not, medicate ourselves out of our mind into our body so we can start to get things going. That's not natural. But you know what? In a world where you have to reinforce systems of oppression, like capitalism and patriarchy, are natural rather than neurodivergence, autism, ADHD are natural expressions of the human being, you have to cut the hedges off of the natural human to adhere to an artificial society, rather than changing an artificial society to accommodate our newly discovered awareness or new discoveries of what it means to be human. This is why when we live in an age where we introduce a technology that is supposed to be as grand as artificial intelligence, AGI, as big tech is selling the dream of, the only thing that everyday people can think of is how many opportunities we're going to lose. Like, what do you mean? If artificial intelligence was really supposed to be the all-seeing eye, the all-benefiting gift from God, then it should be maximizing the lifestyle experience of every person it touches from whatever position of the society that they're in. It shouldn't be creating an impossible blockage in between the haves and the have-nots, and then allowing the haves to literally work the have-nots like an ant farm to test experiments, whether it be in the form of military technology, space technology, transhumanist technology in the sense of trying to merge the consciousness with cyborgs so big tech can live forever on a planet that they've already destroyed so much of and continue to destroy so they can go back to Mars. Back to Mars. Let me save that conversation for another day. What we're going to reinforce is through the whole series of these videos that I'm making, is that as there's a real intention of destroying the world and cutting off the corporate ladders and removing the welfare systems and the safety nets outside of us. There's a real purpose, and it's more than distraction. It's to get us to believe that society is failing for all of us. That's why time is important, and linear time is important. It's to get us to believe, especially everyday people who society has never served. Let's be honest here. Black people, people of color, but Black people specifically, women, disabled people, neurodivergent people, this society has never accommodated us. It just forces us to exist without accommodations and high expectations and then fight for our rights. We make careers out of fighting for our rights instead of having... We make entire industries and careers out of fighting for our rights instead of migrating to, maybe not migrating, that could be extreme, but creating communities that have already fundamentally accepted our humanity. And then living on the other side of, okay, well, what if we lived in a world where we already are human to other humans and we can live and love each other as human beings in community rather than these humans who think they're fucking gods and then they think everybody else is some ant that they can just step and walk all over to please themselves sexually. More times than not. It's so crazy when you think about the power kink of these colonial empires that they have, and it's the most insecure men on planet Earth. Mind you, these are the same men that say, we will not have a woman leading any office of the executive authority because she's going to get on her period and start a world war. Is Donald Trump on his period right now? Be fucking for real, bro. Be fucking for real, bro. It's important, especially those of us who are watching this world be destroyed around us that has not served us. Recognize it's to make us believe, hey, we have to be afraid of the world ending so we can cling on to whatever next form of salvation comes. You know what that next form of salvation is? AI. Guess what the last iteration of AI was? The grand salvation that comes after your world gets destroyed. I was actually going to save this for later in the video, but let's actually get into it right now because this is the colonizer play. They love doing this. I'm going to come to your land, befriend you so you can trust me, not because I want to be your friend. I need you to trust me so I can violate that trust. But I need to know how much I can violate you. And mind you, I'm going to justify it with the God that I say I worship, that I read the Bible from. So I come into your land. I exchange you this religion that I have because I literally have nothing to exchange with you. But I exchange this religion. You give me natural resources because you know I'm a parasite and I have nothing to feed off of. Like I'm going to die if I don't get help, right? So colonizer me takes natural resources from you and says, hey, get this thing. We got this thing called religion that you can cling on to. And it can basically just opt you out of needing to take responsibility for anything on earth because this is a hellhole that we're living in. And it's actually supposed to suck. And we're supposed to just exist in suffering so much that the only thing we care about is being perfect so we can go to heaven after this. That has nothing to do with my resources that you're stealing, colonizer. That has nothing to do with my community that you're corrupting and destroying, colonizer. That has nothing to do with the women that you're raping. That has nothing to do with the men that you're killing. That has nothing to do with the children that you're indoctrinating, colonizer, right now in this reality. And as you come to my home and you come to my land and you corrupt everything here and you take everything from me, from my people, from my culture, my community, and you replace it with the book that you came with, the book that you read and all your people read to sedate themselves and to continue to remind them that we're not that bad of people. God loves everybody. God created everybody. So the colonizer gets to live in reality because the colonizer exchanged a false reality or the belief in a false reality with his Bible with the resources of the reality that he goes to conquer. And then he says, well, make sure you believe everything that's in that book. Make sure you believe the Mary, you're suffering and you are enslaved because you are a born sinner. You are a born sinner. You deserve to suffer. This is important. This is you have to go through this because you wronged God from the womb. Even though your culture and your heritage never said any of that. You have your own interpretation of sinning and demons and crime and whatnot. But we came here and we have now told you that we're going to save you from whatever demonic bullshit you practice that shows you the truth beyond our lies and our illusions. And then we're going to make you think you have to abandon yourself. Abandon yourself in what you know, your own intuition, because that's demonic. That goes against the control that we want to have over you. But what's even more important than that is not just that we stop you from leaning into your own intuition and your own trusting of your own self, but we also make sure that the external validation that you're seeking doesn't look like you. Because that would only reinforce the second somebody gets broken away from the community, from the heritage due to some colonization, they can just go to an elder in the community and then get washed and come right back. Figuratively washed, cleansed from the colonizer consciousness and then come right back. But we can't do that. We can't do that, especially you black African slaves. We can't let you guys think that the person who's going to come save you is black, who's going to come from the heavens, all the way from the heavens and save you. We need you to so deeply not only stop yourself from looking at history and seeing like, maybe we shouldn't be existing and married to our trauma, married to this suffering. Maybe we should be holding people accountable who inflicted this trauma on us. But slavery was 500 years ago. Who's still benefiting from it 500 years later? But get this right here. Out of all these black churches in America, how many of them have a depiction of a black Jesus? Imagine somebody comes and destroys your whole community, culture, consciousness, everything, rips it all from you, and then gives you a book to believe in their lies so you don't hold them accountable, or you believe in whatever you start to support their mode of salvation, right? And then when you're looking for a way out of this existential depression and suffering and fear The only person to look to is, or the only divine source to look to for your salvation is an exact reflection of the race of people that put you in this position in the first place. That told you that your ancestors are demonic. Your history is demonic. You need to be retaught what the world is. Everything that you worship is a lie. Everything that you are is wrong. You are evil. I just came here, mind you, stole resources, killed men, raped women, indoctrinated children, did the same thing, killed and raped children too. But I came here by the word of God, so I am cleansed in doing this because I'm doing this for God. I don't know what God, but I'm doing this for God. And anything that you practiced before I came here and did all of this demonic shit was devil work, and it's just me doing God's work to protect you from the devil you're worshiping. But somehow when you worship the devil, you take responsibility for the land that you live on. You love and respect other human beings for how they express themselves, and you give them an opportunity to contribute to the community. You live through your purpose, and you allow yourself an open mind to find new callings and to be awarded new callings so you can continue to change and grow through the different identities that you amass in this life. That's demonic. Giving reverence and respect and admiration to the ancestors who lived this life, who went on the voyages, went on the travels, did the things, had the families, made the accomplishments and the achievements. Looking up to them is wrong. But we have to look up to all these 40, however many presidents of the United States who are just scapegoat CEOs for a warmongering, genocidal fucking police state. Like, I have to look up to Thomas Jefferson, who's one of the most famous pedophiles in history. But I'm not allowed to look up to Black Hawk. Because he said the difference between us and the white man, the colonizer in his sense, was that we don't just kill people out of the desire to kill people. And this is, again, paraphrased. But what Chief Black Hawk was saying was, we don't act like you as a colonizing race. And you want us to act like you so you don't have to take accountability for how you behave. But we don't act like you. And when we, not only when we stop acting like you, but when we teach our people to not act like you and to not behave like you, because that's not in our soul, it's not in our consciousness, that is not a part of our culture, you kill them. Look at the Black conscious leaders. Look at the indigenous tribal leaders. Unless they're going to submit and be a part of your regime, or they're going to sedate themselves, whether it's by drugs or by religion, you're going to take them out. This is all going to play a lot more important role. I want you to know why time is important. I want you to know why time is important, especially this. Let's go back to that white Jesus real quick. Do you think on a planet where a majority of white people cannot accept the humanity of Black people, and it's so deeply rooted that it's reinforced in their magic, literal magic, it's reinforced in their spirituality, in their religious doctrine, in their political philosophy. It's so deeply rooted, it is a part of their waking existence and just needs to be awoken. We don't even know if it's something that can, like if racism is something that can get taken out of the white man and they will still be a functioning human being. We don't know that because it's a part of their self-concept. I was going to say something super crazy right now. I'm trying to remember it. Because we were speaking about that white Jesus, right? Okay, I figured out what I was going to say. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for playback, huh? Do you genuinely believe on a planet where most white people cannot accept the fact that us as Black people are not even like just human beings like them, like just human? Yeah, white, Black, but human. Like they don't even see us as the same species as them. And you can cut us both in half and see everything similar on the insides. They don't even see us as the same, bro. Whether from the rich ones to the poor ones to the short ones to the tall ones to the fat ones and the skinny ones, they all think it doesn't matter where they're at. The Amish ones to the culturally diverse ones to the ones that go to Bali over break to get tattoos on their legs and do these fake spiritual rituals. And they refuse to learn their own history, though. In a world like this, do you genuinely think one of them has a better opportunity of giving us divine salvation than somebody who looks like us? Stop. I have another question I want to ask you. And don't you think if MLK was actually successful, fully successful in the agenda that he had, I'm not just talking about him dying and somebody taking it on after him. I'm talking about lived to this day and was successful. And if JFK didn't die. But that's racially, that's not the conversation we're having. We're talking about MLK right now. What type of impact do you think he would have had? Especially if you understand that right after the era of deleting all the conscious leaders and then this era of like extreme, forgive me, almost like laissez-faire social culture. I hope I'm using that word right. But just really lax and eccentric, kind of nobody gives a fuck about anything social culture. And then we go into the crack era Reagan time. And then we go into the new leaders of black society, which is the gangsters and the rappers and the athletes. Athletes had been for a while, but like still at this point, it was like way more. Like we really are going on a front to make sure that we're pushing any type of conscious, political, divergent spiritual leader out of these black communities. And every spiritual leader, every political leader, every leader with influence in the black community has to be bought and paid for. Just look at Al Sharpton. Why doesn't he say anything that matters? Because he's a fucking FBI informant. The best thing that he could tell you is to follow the law. And that's somehow also the worst thing that he could tell you for the position that he's in. Don't ever. This is why I said, I know it's a bold claim. I said that MLK is the closest thing that we have had to Jesus. And it's the only thing that America has had closest to Jesus. Living reflection of that, bro. Living reflection. Go look at MLK's approval rating when he was alive. Pretty sure it's below 30%. You don't understand. It's more than just him. The reason why, it's a podcast episode. Don't want to say that here. White liberals got something to do with it, though. But 100%. They need to keep us looking, drooling over this picture of this luscious, long hair, beautiful white man who's going to come save us in this illusion of a future. Just staring like this. While every 10 years, or however many years it takes, we have real black people who do real change, are real geniuses, making real impact in the real world, and we either let them get strung out on drugs, overdose on I'm sorry, I couldn't hold that in. Or they get killed. And it always happens to be accidental, but somehow somebody accidentally happens to kill all of the important people that would have been inspiring movements that could free us from the constrictive consciousness underneath this regime that we live under. Like it's so weird how the people who, the music artists who are starting to break themselves from the music industry and free themselves from labels and the slavery that is record labels, those guys get killed or those guys get tarnished in their reputations. Oh, it's crazy how all the black conscious political leaders just happen to get killed. And then all the peers that they had, the people who worked in their communities, the white kids that worked proxy to them, the Bernie Sanders, the this, the that, who worked proxy to the actual leaders of the movements, those are the people who have the 20 30, 40-year terms or consecutive years on term for political offices. But what has Bernie Sanders done other than complain, guys? Let's be honest here. He was never going to be president. His job is because he's literally what Donald Trump is to MAGA. He is to white liberals what Donald Trump is to MAGA. He is the grandpa that they all want. Oh, that's just grandpa. That's just grandpa. That's the same way MAGA looks at Trump. That's just grandpa. He just says the N-word sometimes and makes a bunch of Nazi rhetoric. And it's the same way that liberals look at Bernie Sanders. And it's the overly trustingness of somebody like that and just not knowing that he's just a talking head. Just a talking head of bullshit. And I'd say this to his face too. Talking head of bullshit. Nothing to say, bro. Nothing to say. And I've been hating on bro for a minute, bro. And that's pushed me out of the political community a little bit. Don't give a fuck because you guys are going to implode yourselves anyway. Thank you, white liberals who want to be correct so much about everything that you create cancel culture. And then that cancel culture gets back-ended to censorship against people like you, which by proxy happens to be conscious people like marginalized people who happen to be in the same community as you that you always want to fucking represent, but you always fuck up when you have a position of power. And then you end up going back to conservatism because you're like, it's so much easier to just accept the racism from my weird uncle than it is to try to actually stand up for the human rights of Palestinians and maybe my fucking neighbors who might have black skin or don't have immigration pages yet. Like, you're not doing anything just because you voted for Kamala Harris and your whole entire family voted for Trump. You're a Trump family. You made no change to where it mattered. But I guarantee you, the same person with a whole bunch of Trump family members, you're online calling out everybody for, you're a misogynist, you're homophobic, you're this, you're that, you're this. You can't, we're never going to be in a community because blah, 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 making all these excuses, but you can't even flip the card in your own fucking house. Dude, we didn't even get into the fucking start of this video, bro. It's been 25 minutes. I need to find out where we're at. Okay, so how does all of that tie in? Because basically I was explaining this little three-part, this broken time matrix to you. And I want to explain to you guys now how all of that connects in. You are stuck. And the only cycle that you live on is January 1st to December 31st. And if that's not the cycle you live on, it's Sunday to Saturday. Your life is so constricted to obligations, raising a family, bills, mortgage, car payments, debt that you're probably in. Probably you have bad health or your health is subject to your inability to take care of it because you have to sell your soul to your job to not even get a living wage. And you probably don't have healthcare. And if you do have healthcare, you're paying shit ton for a premium. There's so much otherness that you're dealing with. You don't even have the time, the space, the peace, the groundedness to hear your soul calling to you. Saying, hey friend, I think I want to take an extra day to sleep. Hey friend, I think I want a change of scenery. Hey friend, I think we need to slow down on what we're consuming and we need to start creating more. Hey friend, I don't feel comfortable in the position that I'm in right now. Hey friend, hey friend, hey friend. And when you abandon the voice calling inside of you that starts out by saying, hey friend, hey friend, hey friend, and you never listen to it, or you constantly take drugs or take alcohol, or you escape with sex, you escape with validation, with validation seeking and trying to like perform an identity, it feels abandoned. It's you who feels abandoned. You inside of you feels abandoned. And then it gets, imagine how you feel, especially if you're somebody who's gone through childhood trauma, bro. And your parents never gave you that awareness, that attention, that presence. And think about how fucking angry that shit made you. It's like, bro, like, I get that you can't help me, but can you at least show up and be like, hey, I can't help you because excuse ABC. Like, does it have to be that you just don't even hear me? Like, I just don't exist to you? And the voice inside of you is doing the same thing. And again, I'm not saying the voice that's telling you, I got to have sex with hot girl today. I got to beat my meat today. Like, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the voice that calls to you after you've spent hours crying because you just got your heart broken, or you just had a friendship breakup, or you just lost a lot of money gambling, maybe. Bad situation, I know, but the heart-to-heart you have with yourself when everything ceases to exist except you and those emotions, and then those emotions start to speak in word form. You can't feel that, what comes from within you, if your whole entire awareness is so caught up in everything that's happening outside of you. And not only what's happening outside of you and how little peace or consistency you can have in your own routine, but even worse, you're enslaved to realities that don't exist. You're enslaved to past versions of yourself that made mistakes, that failed, that fucked up, that have things to be sorry for. And that holds you in. The shame, the guilt of who you were depresses you. It makes you feel like this is all I can be. This is who I am. No matter how great I am, I will always be connected to who I was. And that locks you in place. You not being able to validate yourself only further pushes you on a track of seeking validation from others. And the more traumatized you are, the more toxic people you're going to seek it from. And if they're not toxic on the surface, they definitely have malintentions for you beneath that surface. So then your life can be a consequence of you chasing the validation of other people who don't have your best intention at heart, just because you never took the time to sit down and find out what your best intention was anyway. Because you never even took the time to sit down with your heart to hear what it had to say. But you're hoping that somebody else loving you is going to be the validation that cures your heart from its confusion or from you not listening to it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My dog is sitting right there whimpering. But instead of attending to my dog, I'm not going to say anything until somebody else comes up to me and says, "Is that your dog whimpering?" And then I'm going to have a conversation about my whimpering dog with this person instead of addressing my whimpering dog. Like, come on, bro. Okay. I like this though. And how can you be enslaved to the future? It's not necessarily being enslaved to the future. I guess expectation of the future can be something that you can get enslaved to because it can disappoint you for an ambiguous future that can surprise you with different opportunities and resources that you may never thought you had access to. Could. I think the enslavement that I'm describing, or I know, sorry, the enslavement that I'm describing is to waiting for salvation to come from outside of you. Waiting for salvation to come from beyond. Never, ever even believing as much as it could come from yourself. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Thinking that the grass will always be greener on the other side, not realizing the grass is only greener on the other side because you're not paying attention to the grass that you're standing on. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, the next relationship over always seems better than the one that we're in if we don't know how to love ourselves or if we're in a toxic relationship. But if we are in a position to love ourselves right now and to take advantage of the opportunities we have right now, we're not thinking about trying to be saved from an illusion of a reality that has yet to exist. We're trying to get to that reality by creating the opportunity for it right here, by making the decision we need to make game time right here. Because this right now is all we have, but it's not that this is all you have to focus on. It's because right now is reality. And we leverage past, present, future, different dimensions to understand that reality, because trying to receive everything right now in our very limited, really infantile human brains, it's too overwhelming. One of the types of neurodivergence that I believe is very deeply tied to this misunderstood perception of time is schizophrenia. Not only do I think that we have a horrible understanding of it, but I think that there's 2 times of schizophrenia that I'm not. Okay, it could be one of them could be autism and one could be schizophrenia. But I do believe that there is truth in other being able to receive information and insight and messages from other places. But because we are so enslaved to this physical reality and this Christian timeline, anything that exists outside of what can be controlled by the timeline and those who created it is demonic. So you're not allowed to appreciate any of those other voices. Mind you, we don't have to appreciate them as like, oh, that voice in your head that told you to kill somebody, that's real. We don't have to validate it in that way, but we do have to look at these people and a lot of mentally ill people in a capitalist society as actually mentally just divergent people who need to be accommodated differently. Because what if this person, this human being, is accessing different planes of reality, different planes of consciousness in their real body? And having the schizophrenia, it's like being constantly under this influence. It's like being under the influence, but constantly under it. And if you don't understand it, you're going to have to medicate it so you can try to only capture the parts of yourself that function normally. But if you accept the fact that you're going to have to just sit there and understand this type of being as a completely complex, nuanced, different being, and you're going to have to accommodate that after understanding it rather than trying to fix it into form, then this whole reality gets a lot more spiritual and harder to control because it comes from the inside, which reinforces the main point that I wanted to say with this whole entire thing. One of the main points I wanted to say with this video is that reality, this is an amazing word. This isn't reality. I know it's real, but reality is what we make it. That's why I can feel confident saying something like time is not real, because reality is the culmination of I believe, and then I reinforce in the world so I can know. Reality is collective reinforcement of internal belief and pushing it into the world as if we know. And then we allow the world we don't know, which we can't see or we can't feel yet because it hasn't been manifest yet, we allow that to present itself, or we try to jump the gun, and this is where magic comes into it, and we try to manufacture circumstances in reality. We try to build timelines. We try to influence the masses to support the manifestation of different timelines or specific events, which will inspire the realities that we want to be born. That's why it's easy for these, like I'm so crazy about religion, because when you just pull a bunch of people who are ignorant, afraid, and willing to believe with their soul into anything onto one timeline where they feel like they're born a sinner and they have to do everything they can to be perfect in this life so they can go to heaven at the end, and if they don't, they're going to burn in hell like an oven forever. Imagine how many things you could do if you just had access to manning that amount of energetic power. Collective belief in your system that is made up at the end of the day. What could you do if you were the person orchestrating that level of belief? You're the person that's orchestrating that type of organization, but you have your own personal intentions. You have your own desires to do with that power. Make sure I'm not getting kicked out of here. All right. Like, I don't get what you guys get the whole new world order, one world order, whatever the fuck that shit is. Like, you guys hear that, but you don't think that, like, the Abrahamic religions could potentially be doing that. You don't think that specific types and groups of people who have, for generations, had generations of family and fortune and conquered worlds and started world wars, you don't think they have anything to do with globalization, with trying to put the whole entire world on one track mind. And we're talking about religion right now, aren't we? Good time to talk about how we're just going to replace that with AI, right? Because get this right here. Get this right here. I colonize your reality. I steal your reality, right? I give you religion. You believe in religion, but you are not believing in your reality anymore. You're believing in my reality. That's an illusion of reality that is a coping mechanism to deal with me destroying your reality. So now you believe in a bastardized version of reality that is because you believe in reality through the book that was given to you by the colonizer rather than your heritage, your bloodline, your lived experiences. So you're not living in real reality, especially black people with that white Jesus in the church. You're not living in real reality. You're living in a manufactured reality of the colonizer so you can keep having your energy farmed for their use. Now, the next one's even better. The next religion, you can put any poor person on. It doesn't matter their color, their race, their this, their that. We can use laws to dehumanize the rest of them. AI is the religion of the digital universe. You know how we're spending 10 to 12 hours on average, young people especially, are spending 10 to 12 hours on average staring at screens all day, not engaging with peers and other people around them? You know how Zuckerberg wants us to be in his little VR reality for 24 hours a day maybe? With his little stupid ass headsets, Scuba Zuck. I fucking hate that guy. AI, I was going to make a TikTok on this, but this is the perfect time to put it. What's the difference between this? Well, the Bible says that I should blah, 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 blah. Well, I just asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said I should blah, 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 blah. Told you. Now, what happens when you're fully existing on the digital universe, and that reality is what your brain is now conforming to? There is no nature. There is no infinite source that cannot be controlled or conquered or claimed. There is source, but the source that is happens to be what? AI. Because AI is the all-knowing, all-seeing truth of reality. And I think a lot of you guys forget that. AI doesn't work how it's supposed to work in this current reality that we live in because you still have, there still is the infinite truth. There is the infinite sun. There is the world that you can continue to exist in offline. It's getting more expensive to exist in, but it's still real. When you go into the digital reality, everything is at the mercy of the person who owns the platform, who runs the technology, who owns the operating space for the technology, and owns access to your account. In a digital world that's full of nonsense and propaganda and rage bait and shit that doesn't matter, the only sense of clarity and calmness that you will get in the mass information chaos cesspool that will be the internet, if it isn't that right now, will be coming from AI. I need to extend my time in here real quick because I got a lot more to talk about. And I forgot what I was going to say, but are we starting to see now? First, they took our reality from us. They took our ability to function on our own time away from us. And you know what's crazy? This actually leads me to this other conversation. Speaking about how how many, I'm trying to word this right. How many marginalized people, and I'm not just saying marginalized, I'm talking about like people indigenous to the land that they are now having, that has now been colonized. So I'm speaking about indigenous elders on American soil. I'm speaking about even Africans on African soil on colonized land. Isn't it crazy how there's so much alcohol abuse, if not drug abuse, and spiritual connection, even from people as low as in the streets, from the top of society to the bottom of society? The only thing that connects people would be religion. Not even politics and humanity. Let me clip real quick. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that how many indigenous elders and people in like colonized communities are, whether it's addicted to drugs, they're overly about spiritual salvation through the colonizers like spiritual practice, or they're like really emotionally unstable. And again, in a world where we're not continuing to globalize this whole entire colonization project, we think, oh, these are neurodivergent people trying to cope with not just a neurotypical system, but neurotypical systems created by narcissistic masters. Systems that not only create, but reinforce slaves and their enslavement, and then reject anybody who won't submit to it. So you sit here and think about, okay, well, every neurodivergent or every indigenous elder or every African slave descent, every person who's gone through the post-colonized trauma is not neurodivergent, or everyone that maybe takes drugs or like finds a negative way of coping with their trauma isn't. But it's interesting when you do think that the colonizer has no perception of any time but the time that they're on, and then forces everybody to adhere to their time. And then it tries to validate through politics and legislation that they can just kill anybody who doesn't fit on their timeline, while giving you coping mechanisms to try to deal with living on their timeline. That's why I've always believed neurodivergence from a Western perspective will never be as deep or as efficient as it could be, because they want to be so apart from being otherized, but they want to be the one doing the otherizing, that there's no genuine appreciation for differences beyond what they're willing to accept. And what they're willing to accept is so small because they're so fucking insecure. From the colonizer all the way down to their children. So it's interesting to think about the conversation of neurodivergence and how neurodivergence may actually have a lot more to do with not just the mind and being mentally ill, but complete diverging human lifestyles and cultures that are not willing to be appreciated, respected, or invested in. Because they have to force every single one of us on that one timeline that we were all born here sinners and we're all going to die trying to go to heaven. And what we do on earth doesn't matter. We just have to shut up, sit still, and be perfect while we're waiting to do that. But wealthy people who exist above the law, above needing salvation from others, they get to just do whatever they want, right? Yeah. Because when you're not waiting, when you're not clinging on to salvation from somebody to come save you from how shitty your job is or how shitty your relationship is or how much you hate yourself, and you're not ashamed of what you've done to get to where you are right now, and you actually accept yourself for who you are because you love the life you live right now, you're like, why would I enslave myself to fear to not keep living this life to the fullness of my ability? And that should reinforce into you that religion, most of it, is political propaganda for the poorest. Reinforcing that, hey, everybody could have enough, but we'd rather live in a world where some people get access to everything at their leisure, and a majority of people don't get access to their basic needs at all. And we're gonna kumbaya this whole thing as if this is like legit. Like it's literally religion. Like you see mega churches in the same cities that have homeless people. Mega churches with pyrotechnics taking tithings so their audience can go to heaven. But there are people who exist right now that are down $1,000, maybe $10,000. But genuinely, a lot of people are down a band to like 5 bands. Could change people's lives. Your pastor just pulled up to the mega church in a Rolls Royce. But let me stop pocket watching, right? because God blessed him with that money. God said that he could have that money while people are starving on the street, and while Jesus was the one that was taking clothes off his fucking back to make sure that people could have something to stay in. The same Jesus you're telling all the other people to be like, you're somehow acting like the people that hung him on the fucking cross. Hung him on the cross. Hung, lynching. Do you guys not understand that? This is why I'll never believe that white Jesus bullshit. It's more than just waiting for salvation that's never going to come. Jesus was black because all the way back to Roman times, the only skinned color people that got lynched were black. This is why you have to change the story if you're going to rewrite history, because somebody like me is going to, wait a second, and go right back and dig the truth up and then put it in everyone's face like it's my big old dong, bro. Amazing. Amazing. We haven't even gone talking to the... I haven't even told you about my theories as to what big tech wants to do with all this shit. Should I save that to the end, or do you guys want to hear that right now? Obviously, you guys can't respond, so fuck it. Let me try to make a decision quick. Let's finish this. Let's finish this, though. Let me make sure I know where I'm at, and then let me finish this. All right, so I'm not going to do too much about like specifics here, because if I say too many things, then I'm going to get called a bad word, and then I might get canceled. So I'm not going to say too much, but I am just going to give you this happened, who benefits? The history of these white people, we're going to do a quick synopsis here. Because, again, you don't want to hear about critical race theory and history? Fine. We'll do critical white history on my YouTube channel. So, personally, what I believe is that, I don't know if it was the Romans or if it's this one group that keeps banging in my head, the Phoenicians. One of these cult groups, secret societies, probably at the time it wasn't because it was just a bunch of animals. One of these groups wanted to prolong themselves and their influence throughout the entirety of history. Throughout the entirety of history. A lot of wealthy people have this weird fascination with doing that. Like Jeff Bezos. He has that 10,000 year time clock. Which is weird because let's not say that. So, if you are familiar with occult philosophy at all, because let me just get into this before I go into too many tangents. If you are familiar with occult philosophy and the understanding of the whole Yacubian story, the Yacubian principles, how Yacub is a child of the mother Sophia, basically like the goddess of the universe, and Yacub was, I don't know if it was like excommunicated or walked off. Basically the same thing that Lucifer did in the traditional Bible story. But it's weird because the Lucifer from the Bible's, everything's fucked up. Yacub comes down and says, I am not satisfied taking care of human beings. I need a race of human beings that does everything for me. There's a bunch of different interpretations of this story. All right? You may have heard something very similar to this. So this dude ends up creating a race of people that goes against, not competes against, but is literally like a made from clay species. This nigga Yacub made people from clay, where God, the mother God, birthed people. Yacub made people. Isn't it funny how that's almost like the birthing of artificial intelligence? The white man hates women so much that he ends up trying to create children through technology. I digress. And it's so interesting how after, if you look at the Adam and Eve story from the perspective of the serpent being the savior of the story and the God being a false God trickster of the story, and Adam and Eve being victims of whether it's possession or the illusion of what the Garden of Eden was, and eating the psychedelic fruit woke them up to the illusion of their reality, and they had to escape from that. If that's how you're looking at this stuff, then what I'm saying is going to make sense. And you're also going to start to look at the God of the Bible, of this brown book, very differently, bro. Very different. It's more so a imaginary figure that is being worshipped to reinforce the deranged desires of the political elite than it is an all-seeing, loving, caring force in the sky that actually cares to offer its unconditional love to all humans, like it supposedly preaches. But if that's what you want to look at, because mind you, I'm pretty sure like white people have only been on planet Earth for like 6,000 years, like 6 or 10,000 years. But if it ends up being 6,000 years, this will be fucking hilarious, because that means this falls right into my story as to how they got here and what they're doing. But the Yacobian 6,000 year promise was that black people are the children of Earth, and to spite that, I'm going to create a race of people that will just destiny swap with them, so my manufactured race of humans can be the chosen people of Earth. And not only that, because you heard the story, the Adam and Eve story, how Eve gave Adam the fruit and they were banished. They weren't banished from the Garden of Eden. They had to leave because it wasn't real. It was a false reality. It was an illusion that was put up because they were believing in it, since they were too ignorant to transcend on their own consciousness. They had to take from the fruit to transcend and recognize what they were living was a lie. I love telling that story so much. So, I also wanted to add in, there that it may have something to do with why we have to start, the hatred of women is so deep in our society because you have to start it from the base of your like existence philosophy. Like the first person who made a mistake in the world was a woman. So like, this is why we still hate them like 5,000 years later. No. If you've got the time right, or you understand the time right, you understand that this whole BC AD thing, that was also placed at the wrong time, in time. And the reason why they have to get us all to believe on the colonial timeline instead of adhering to time on our own, like on our own instinct and intuition, is because not only are we believing in their timeline to manifest the reality they want, but we're also dissociating ourselves from real time. So we aren't able to see when systems are coming to an end because our perception is wrong. We're not able to properly prepare and adjust to the end of the American empire and the American cycle because its cycle has come to an end. A lot of people didn't know that empires only last 250 years. Cycles, cycles, cycles. Time isn't finite, it's infinite, but it's cyclical. And if you've been following the timeline, at least adhering to the progression of events that may adhere to different points of the timeline, then you'll recognize, wait, after this whole 6,000 year rule of the earth, like dominion over the earth, after that was done, that should have been around 1910, somewhere around 1900 to 1910. And isn't it interesting how since this 6,000 year bid over dominion over the earth, since that has been done, we've had 3 world wars since then. 1, 2, and I'm talking about the third one that we're in right now. Now, because this is a spiritual community that we're having right here, I want you to perceive war a lot different than the world gives you the opportunity to see it as. Let's accept the fact that war is wealthy people owning stolen land and stolen resources, but they believe that they are entitled to other people's land and resources that is probably also stolen and hoarded. So they gamble their community of people to death against another person's community of people to death, which are probably poor and disadvantaged. And then whoever comes back with more people that haven't died or been sacrificed, that person is the victor. And whoever can then go on and clean up and claim territories is the victor. But it's not who owns territories that's important. It's the fact that some countries and groups enter these engagements without even an intention of winning any war. Look at the Iraq War. There is no intention of winning said war, of being the victor, of the intention, you have to stick with me here. The intention is the mass casualties. The intention is the mass casualties. There's a deity that's been mentioned in so many books, it's even mentioned in the Bible. Moloch or Baal, this is what I believe a lot of our current elites are worshiping. And they're front-facing themselves as like worshiping Christianity and this like traditional religion, but genuinely they're doing like a bunch of weird shit. Look at the Epstein files. I mean, this is what these people do in their free time. They're not just sitting on yachts and smoking cigars and going to Louis Vuitton and buying new clothes. These people are doing like blacker than black magic, bro. I was going to say something bad. I want us to look at war as countries and their leadership sacrificing their people to a deity for the favor of that deity, because that deity is feeding on this sacrifice for favor. And you know what's funny? The people who get to benefit from the ritual, they're in suits in the highest offices and buildings in the country. They'll never get touched by the consequences of this blood sacrifice ritual. The people who are getting sacrificed are people who don't even know they're participating in it. They're just coked up on rock music and patriotism. They think that's going to be enough to save them from military warfare in an age where technology is so foreign, it's literally alien. When the United States was going to extract the leader of Venezuela, the Venezuelan army reported that there was a sonic blast machine that they were hit with that made people vomit blood. They did not get touched with anything material, and they were vomiting blood from a machine. We haven't even gone into actual war, and this is what people are doing. Those types of devices are internationally illegal. Internationally illegal. And that's the terrain we're playing on right now. And not only do I think that war is a massive blood sacrifice ritual, but just looking at the genocide that's happening in Gaza right now, it's a means to experiment with technology on the lives of people whose society apparently deems are not human. Whether it's that stupid-ass alligator Alcatraz, which is a concentration camp in America, concentration camp, they're doing it there. Whether it's to the Palestinians in Gaza, they're doing it there. Whether it's all the shit that WikiLeaks was dropping, the shit that we're doing in Iraq, shooting random civilians in the head, having fun with it like it's a Call of Duty chat room. And I know it's not funny, but I need you guys to sit here and think like, what sense does it even make? Oh my goodness. And I haven't even gotten to the point where I was speaking about whatever. But this is why we'll finish off this part of the video at least by saying this is why I believe that they're able to facilitate this apocalypse, or able to act like they're facilitating or accelerating us to an apocalypse that's not really real. It's just big tech has taken the timeline that we're on, reality reinforced by church history instead of cultural and community heritage. They take the timeline and they speed us towards the end point of the timeline, because we don't understand that we can jump off of it and then start to birth our own timeline with our own understanding, our own perspective, and our own accommodation. We're also coked up believing that we're waiting for somebody to save us from the end of the world. We're manifesting the end of the world right now. They're making us manifest it through our collective fear, and they are inciting it through destroying actual opportunities and resources that people could have access to live comfortably in this world right now. And I don't know if I'll say it in this video or not, but I also think that everybody in big tech is smoking some type of meth. It's not, these people are done. And perfect time to add this in here. You know, isn't it weird how someone like Peter Thiel is a 100 billionaire who's basically owning like a third of the world right now, at least by proxy to ownership of a third of the world. Isn't it funny how he invites some loser, like insecure, looks-maxing 20-year-old to a party, to a private party? Now, mind you, I hate agreeing with somebody who I don't like just as much as the next guy. But the only reason why this idiot, Clavicular, didn't go was because he thought it was a Diddy party, which it was. But that's hilarious to me. It's like, I made this claim in a video before. The dude, Peter Thiel, looked like he was having withdrawals from smoking meth in that New York Times interview. I hope I'm right about this, because I'll get sued to fucking hell if I'm wrong. He wants to do drugs and have gay sex with that Clavicular boy. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But when the fact that the leaders of our society that have bought and sold our country are only looking at society beneath them as toys to get themselves off to fetishize themselves to jerk off on, what type of authority are we living under? There's no decorum, there's no professionalism, there's no respect, there's no humanity, there's nothing but a bunch of coke-addicted meth head addicts in the Oval Office trying to convince us that we're wrong for smoking weed. That's all I get out of this. Crazy. These are the same people that told you that drinking milk out of a cow udder is the same, if not better, than drinking out of your mother's boob. Remember that. All right, we're done. Actually, hold on. Because I kind of want to talk all the way about that Peter Thiel part, but like, I know it's important that I'm supposed to get into the rest of this video. Speaking about how we can actually adhere to time on our own time while still respecting society until we're given the amount of freedom to really live how we want. But something in me really, really, really wants to tell you guys what big tech is doing right now. Really wants to tell you what big tech is doing right now. So I'm going to tell you guys. Damn, these guys are playing a video game or watching a movie or something? They be doing everything in this freaking library, bro. Okay. So, I have a couple of notes down here I want to make sure that I'm reinforcing here. Oh, actually, we explained all this. Okay, this is the point that I want to say before we move on to the next section. And I'll timestamp these videos too, so hopefully I'll timestamp. Don't want to make no promises. But I'll make sure I timestamp them so you guys can just click on the parts that you want. Personally, what I believe with this whole meth situation, because I'm not going to judge you for what drugs you take, mind you. I like to smoke weed. I like to have sex. I like to drink a little bit, not all the time. But I like to enjoy myself. It's a difficult reality. But when I'm not allowed to apply to a job after having smoked, however, I don't know what the dosages are of meth. When I'm not allowed to apply to a job because I have meth in my system, but you're allowed to buy the federal government with meth, ketamine, cocaine, whatever else you got. Look at Marco Rubio. Look at, like, I'm calling out everybody, but I'm sorry, guys. If you're allowed to take drugs and be in the highest position of authority in this country, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want. I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want, bro. Like, I do not care anymore, bro. I do not care. Look, I might have to clip that video of Marco Rubio hitting one of these. Bro, who else does that? Who else other than coke addicts do this? Who? Okay. In my shamanic healer brain, in my brain that sees through all the bullshit, this is what I think is really going down. I think Adderall has always been big in whether it's tech, finance, in politics. But these guys, like, again, you guys don't realize that meth and Adderall are basically like, they're like a compound away from being the same substance. That's literally what, even what's-his-face acknowledges that. Clavicular acknowledges that. That's why he says he takes meth. Because he's like, oh, I don't like the after effects of Adderall, so I just take straight meth. Okay. What I believe, Clavicular is doing it because he's just purely insecure. And he hates the fact that no matter what he does to make himself perfect, there's going to be a black dude who does not try at all. And any girl that Clavicular wants is going to get lost to that black dude. That's almost a root theory of racism. Like, I have to wake up as a white man, look at my thumb for a penis, get up, somehow believe in myself, not have shit, go out into the world and see a bunch of dudes who look better than me, live better than me, don't give a fuck about me. And I have to try to make them all love me, or else I'm going to hate myself and destroy the world. Peter Thiel's situation is different. Because Peter Thiel's already accepted the fact that he's gay. Clavicular hasn't accepted the fact that he's gay yet. Peter Thiel and all these tech nerds, when they smoke or when they take these drugs, this is all alleged, mind you, because again, these guys will sue me to the grave. When they take these drugs, it's not just drug taking, like, oh, we're at a party, let's smoke this joint together. Oh, let's take some shots. Like, these are ceremonies, practices. You guys only want to call out Diddy for having freak-offs. A lot of these executive white dudes are doing shit that is nastier than shit that you've seen in horror movies. And hopefully they start releasing the Epstein shit so you guys can finally start to see it. Because how the hell is Donald Trump still the president of our country when it's already been revealed he gang raped a 13-year-old and post-birth abortion, that also stands for murder, the child? These are FBI documents. Why do we have to ask any questions after that? Mind you, I was asking questions with the fraud like a long time ago. Like, I'm talking, how is he president after he's been convicted of like 40 counts? But again, you guys were cool because it's the deep state trying to take him down. The deep state. Oh my goodness. Is Donald Trump a fucking assistant manager of the deep state? I keep on getting lost from the point I'm trying to get to here. What big tech is really doing, they're smoking whatever they're smoking, right? They're getting so lost in their brain. And the reason why I say this is ritualistic is because I think they're trying to reinforce the same type of connection or signal to reach the same goals every time, which is to communicate with this alien species. If you're smart, you realize that aliens cannot be connected to through the physical in this reality. You have to be born soul into shell to live in this physical reality. The only way for other entities to communicate through to us is by possession of a physical being or by entering energetically through the field. This is a crazy conversation. If you want more of that, I guarantee you I'll give you more of that. But to just stay fundamental, entities have to communicate to vulnerable minds through the shell, but aliens can't just show up in green shells and just drop on land unless those green shells are made to withstand the atmospheric pressure, the sun, the water, the air, like what exists here. Just like if we went to go to Mars or to Venus, we can't just go in our human suits and go live there. There's a different science that applies to each of these planets. And it's so deep and it's so cool when you look at it outside of trying to like do eugenics or like destroy the human race. It's so cool what we could get into. Now, I believe what the entity that these tech leaders are communicating to is the one that I was describing earlier, the false god that is being worshipped. And I think through said false god, and it could be a bunch of different people, we don't know what or who it is, and this is all alleged. I think by communicating to this, stop myself real quick, by communicating to this false god, they're trying to, in exchange for, whether it's blood sacrifice through war or it's through indoctrinating masses of people, they're offering up humanity in exchange for technology. Okay? They're sacrificing those of us who are on the bottom edges of their system. They sacrifice us as if we don't deserve life. So, and when they meet their quotas of sacrifice, then this entity that they're worshiping returns to them information. That information is codes, keys, manuscripts, protocols as to how to create technology. And that's why you're starting to see that a lot of modern tech, especially modern American flight tech, it's so eerily similar to perceptions as what we had UFOs were. This is more than reverse engineering, bro. This is being given the guide how to engineer things that don't exist in our current space. And if you don't want to believe me for situations like that, you don't have to. Let's just talk about how somebody like Ozzy Osbourne can be basically stoned, drunk and stoned his whole entire life, but make the type of music that he does. That's not because it's just sitting inside of his brain. It's because he's channeling. The people who genuinely do music channel from another source through their body into the world. And they give something that has been condensed for you to appreciate. But if you could access the music that these people can make, then why wouldn't you just get it yourself? Okay? So big tech is smoking crack. We're going to be blunt here. Big tech is smoking crack. They're talking to voices in their head that they think are actual entities, which are giving them advice and influencing how they make their decisions into the real world. The problem with this, right, is that big tech thinks that they're on the same level as the alien intelligence that they're interacting with. What I personally believe, this alien intelligence is loyal to nobody. And it's just using these people who are so non-human or inhumane, they are willing to sacrifice their own other human beings for this voice in their brain. These humans, the Peter Thiels and the Steve Bannons and the Elon Musk, these are the ones communicating to said alien intelligence and then telling us that aliens don't exist. This thing is just educating humans enough to make sure that human beings can create technology that can withhold the sheer energetic power and weight that is this energetic being into our reality. A regular human shell is not enough to hold such a potent energy. Now, as Peter Thiel continues to tell you that Greta Thunberg is the Antichrist, I want you to think, what if this entity that tech is communicating with What if that's the Antichrist? And what if in exchange for not only the blood sacrifice through war of poor people, but in exchange for the influence over the masses and the pushing of these hidden agendas, what if this alien is just trying to make itself to this reality, to hatch itself onto this reality, to then enslave all of us back into, not into, back into the Garden of Eden that we were able to free ourselves from initially. But this time it's going to be different, because Eden is not going to be on earth, and we aren't going to be just ignorant because we're stupid human beings. Eden is going to be a digital reality, and AI will be the God of said digital reality. And if we worship AI like God, then God is somebody that can be controlled, and reality is something that can be manipulated and influenced and corrupted whenever it needs to be. There is no natural, there is no organic. Everything is manipulation. Human beings are nothing more than ants on an ant farm being farmed for data to train material that will soon replace us. Because at the end of the day, humanity is going to have nothing to do with how human you are. It's going to have to do with how well you submit to the system and how much you are willing to comply. That will be a human. And you're going to have to compete your humanity against a robot who says yes, sir, yes, ma'am to every fucking thing. How do you compete with that? You don't. You don't. Okay, now let's get into the next part of this series. These videos are so fucking long, bro. These videos are so fucking long. And I'm so right every time. I'm like, damn, let me make sure this is an hour long. Nope, this is not gonna be an hour long. All my videos will be 2 fucking hours, and I will chop them all up to be shorter videos, but all my videos are gonna be 2 hours long because I just can't stop explaining shit. We aren't at the mercy of this timeline, mind you. We aren't completely at the mercy of this apocalypse at the end of the world timeline. Unless we choose to be. Unless we are so abandoning of the self, we are so unimaginative, we are so uninspired, we are so lacking of belief and creativity that we do not believe in ourselves so deeply that we can create a reality worth experiencing from within ourselves and share that with each other and support that through actual reinforcement and actual real world engagement. This is what I love. When you believe in linear time, you are a slave. You don't exist in time. You sit somewhere, and then you're being skated through time. You're being skated through time, and if you pass somewhere, if you pass that stop, well, good luck. You can't go back. Past that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. Oh, do this. Oh my goodness, we're gonna run into a freaking, or the cart's gonna run into a freaking wall. Ah! That's what the apocalypse is. We're on a cart that's going way too fast. There's a dead end right in front of us, and we're scared because the only thing to go is, we don't even give ourselves 2 seconds to think, maybe I could jump out of this cart, maybe catch some damage, but it's going to be a lot less damage than if I sit in this cart until it slams into the freaking wall in front of me. Linear time, you are at the mercy of your reality at all times. Time runs against you, and you are being eroded by time as if it's like water and you are a rock at the beach. You are eroded by time. Versus you allowing time to flow through you and recognize that as the awareness, you get to perceive time in a multitude of different ways, because it's not about who you were or who you're going to become, or maybe who you are even in this very second. It's about how you can use your cumulative experience and your cumulative awareness to help put you in the position to make the clearest, most concise, most intentional decision right now with what you have. At the end of the day, the person who looks at themselves and their life as a full experience that they can learn from, pick from, readjust, reconfigure, believe in, let go at any time, the person who has that level of freedom could live 1,000 lives in the same reality as somebody who was enslaved to one timeline can live cycles over and over and over and over again of the same fucking life. And they complain all day about the relationship they're in, complain about the job they have, complain about how shitty the world is, about politics being on the news all day, and not do a single fucking thing about it. And this person understanding that I can allow time to flow through me instead of constantly trying to hold myself here and let time just boom, 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 just whack me in the face all day, whack me in the face all day, and just never do anything about it, never adjust, never weave, never bob, never nothing, just Like it's a night and day difference. Because even then, when I allow time to flow through me and who I am right now, and understand myself as a complex, full being who is living linearly just so I can comprehend this, not because so I can be a slave to it, just to comprehend the overwhelmingness of it all. That's when I start realizing that this is a natural experience. This is a very spiritual experience that we're living in. What's different about our experience is that it's not that we have to make so many changes externally to reinforce the change we want to feel inside. We're just like, you know what? Let's start with changing the inside first. Let's change the inside first and then see if we can influence change on the outside, whether it's just change perspective or it's change opportunity or it's change environment. But we want to make peace with who we are in here first, so we can trust that we're making this decision with some type of clarity, right? When we look at the past, we're not ashamed of our past. We're not feeling guilty about who we were or what we had to endure to get to this point where we are right now, because the past is something that already happened. We're going to alchemize our past. We're going to continue to look at our past, not to gloat over it, not to feel bad about it. We're going to look at it and we're going to continue to reconfigure our perception of it, so the experience that we had that we can't change can still benefit us in some way today, instead of holding us back into who we were back then. Hey, maybe I linked up with the hottest girl I've ever seen, and we had sex, and I busted a nut in 5 seconds. Am I going to sit there and think that is the fullness of my potential? Or am I going to get back to the damn drawing board and do better my next opportunity? I know it's a silly analogy, I'm sorry. But you have to accept that the past is something that you can't change. That's what allows you to move on from it. But alchemizing it allows you an opportunity to take from that past, even though it could have been a horrible experience, it allows you to take from that past something of value to add to what you're doing today, so you can hopefully influence a more positive future. Or at least save yourself from constantly dealing with issues from your past in future timelines. Saving yourself the wasted energy. Our present moment is a lot different than the one of our fear slave, of our fear-based worshiper. Because in our present moment, we are taking the time to actualize what we can right now with what we have. Yeah, maybe I don't have $100 million to go buy a yacht. Maybe I don't have the coolest clothes, or maybe I don't have the connections that I want. Maybe I don't have the job that I want. But am I going to be a shell of myself because I don't have that? Or am I going to be who I am right now and do what I can right now to get to the position I want to be in? Because this is the only life I got. And if nobody's going to do it now, when is it going to get done? Especially my ADHD people, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. If it's not going to get done right now or in the next 5 seconds, it's never going to get done. You know that. I know that. We all know that. So if we can do it now, can we do it? And if we can't, is it okay if we let it go completely? Putting ourselves in a position to prioritize the decisions that need to be made and to allow decisions that don't need to be made to be pushed on the back burner so they aren't stressing us out unnecessarily. Actualize what we have access to and appreciate what we've been able to do with that power. Appreciate the strides we've been able to take. Appreciate just the fact that we've been able to keep loving ourselves in spite of things not going our way. Appreciate the life we have right now, because if we never appreciate where we're at right now, we're never going to appreciate anywhere on this journey. If we think about this, and this is something I used to struggle with too. If you can't appreciate the fact that you get to exist as you right now, even if your life is horribly shitty, if you never appreciate the fact that, hey, this sucks, but I am me. I get to make decisions. I get to wake up and change how I think. I get to position myself differently, attack the day differently. If I don't look at myself with that power, then I'm going to have to give it up to somebody else, bro, or wait for somebody else to validate it in me, and it's probably never going to come. You have to be willing to, and it's not accepting shitty circumstances or settling for less. It's about accepting that you are a person who can be aware of your surroundings and make a decision as to how you feel. Do I like this? Do I not like this? Can I understand that on an intellectual level? Now let me take that intellect and not overthink, not mentally masturbate. Let me take that intellect and now direct it into changing my habits, changing my decisions, changing how I'm going about addressing this life. Because I can't keep doing the same things and wondering why I'm getting the same results while expecting something to change. Some crazy person said that shit, and I agree with it 100%. I think it's like Einstein. Now the future is different because we don't have anxiety. It's interesting because we know just as much about the future as this other person who also doesn't know about the future. But their whole entire life is almost being constricted by an illusion their entire reality right now is being constricted by, well, what if I don't go to heaven in the future? What if I get judged and I get banished to hell? Think about how free those of us are who don't think like that. My balls hang to the bro, because I don't think like that. Oh shit. More importantly, when you're not, it's almost like this, right? When you're looking at the future from anxiety, it's almost like you are the future, right? You're the future, and I am standing in the present moment, and I'm just sitting here like this. And I'm like, don't hit me. And it's just like, and you're sitting there like, what are you doing, bro? Like my hand's not even up. Like I'm not even doing anything. Like, what are you doing? But this is me, my internal belief telling me that if I don't perfect myself now, the future is going to be grim. So I need to be afraid of every single decision that I make, of everything in my reality at all times. Every decision I could make, because it's all for this end goal that wealthy people obviously don't care about, because you see how many of them are in those Epstein files, right? I'm going to keep on saying that. You guys are going to get mad at me for critiquing religion, but you guys will not get mad at rich people for being on fucking pedophile island. We know we can't control the future. That's what limits this person and gives us unseen power. We know we can't. We can't control the future. And that's not even our goal. Because what did I say earlier in this video? May have been like an hour ago. I'm sorry. High expectations are always going to lead to grand disappointment. High expectations always lead to grand disappointment. And even if they don't lead to grand disappointment, it desensitizes our ability to appreciate what's being given to us. Because we expected it, making it harder to appreciate it for what it is. We're holding it to the standard of our expectation. And now it's about our fulfillment rather than our ability to appreciate what is. But where the power for us comes in is we're not even concerned about not knowing what's happening in the future. We're not concerned about finding out some new bullshit about Donald Trump. We're not concerned about finding out some horseshit that doesn't matter. We're not concerned about finding out that Marco Rubio actually did. You should not be anywhere near that damn White House. Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth, you shouldn't be anywhere. You should be wiping the dirt off my shoes before you ever step foot in the White House, bro. And I don't care where I'm at, bro. You should be licking the dirt off the bottom of my shoes before you ever step foot in the White House. Licking, especially Kristi Noem too. Licking the dirt off the bottom of my shoes. But somehow you guys got positions of authority, so we're going to have to wait it out. It's not that I'm ignorant to society, but I don't have to care. Because the future is always going to come. The future is always going to happen. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up, and the future is going to be here. Every day. Without question. So I'm going to anticipate, I'm going to do my best to anticipate not only what could happen, but the reality that I want to happen. So I'm very keen and aware as to what opportunities I need to jump on, pounce on, to make sure that the things I want are happening. Because if I'm so distracted by what people think of me and what I wore and what I ate last week and what I did this, and if I'm going to do this, and if that girl's going to text me back, if I'm so concerned about all this other stuff, I'm not anticipating my future. I'm not anticipating my timeline, my opportunities. This is not narcissistic to think about yourself in this way. Because we're just thinking about ourselves first to develop a foundation to know that we have the capacity to love, to be patient, to be intentional, to be caring. And then we share that, what we learned from ourselves, with other people through platonic relationships, intimate relationships, familial, group settings. We anticipate the future, and in anticipating the future, we aren't sitting here scared about the future. We're doing everything we can today so we don't have things backed up on our to-do list to justify why we aren't taking advantage of new opportunities that come in from the future. We clear our plate today so we can eat a fresh plate tomorrow. A lot of people in this world have been for so long just eating crumbs, trying to justify eating the littlest bits off the same plate because they're so afraid of getting off that one plate and waiting for the next one. And if not waiting for the next one, ripping food off somebody else's plate and putting it on their own and eating that shit. Because they're obviously not eating it. But it's anticipation. That's what we can do, because anticipation we can do right now. When the future isn't even here, we can anticipate. We can take care of addressing the tasks that we have right now. We can prepare ourselves. Preparation. It's a gift of those who like to win. Preparation. So it's not even the gift. Preparation is the prerequisite for those who like to win. And when the future comes, and this is why it's so important for us to not care what the future is, just anticipate it and allow it to come as it does. Because check this. We adjust our reality, our choices, our circumstances to the future that has come and manifest from the front into our reality. Now the baby's not in the womb anymore. Now we're not just having raw sex. The baby is in the womb, born, coming out into reality. Baby! Now we have to adjust our lifestyle. I know a lot of you influencers don't like doing that, so you just treat your kid like a prop. But let's be real here. You birth that. Now you can't abort the child. Donald Trump can somehow abort children after the children are born. To his audience that is so pro-life. But now the energy, the idea is manifest into physical form. You can't go out with the boys 5 times a week anymore. You can't not pick up the phone when your girl's calling you now. You can't not work a job and not have money to pay bills because there's a starving baby now. When the future comes at you, you adjust. When the future is still up for grabs, you anticipate. The reason why we anticipate is because we want to prepare ourselves as best we can. We want to prepare ourselves as best we can for the opportunities that we do want and any potential opportunities that could come. If you aren't preparing at all, no, I said that wrong. If you aren't preparing to win, you're preparing to fail. And that's 100% facts. Let me make sure this is still recording. You heard? If you aren't preparing to win, you're preparing to fail. And if you're preparing to fail, jail. Damn, we're really in here with this. Okay. But we've understood that this is a new way to look at time, right? We're not in a go-kart we're not in a roller coaster just abiding by one timeline. We are an infinite being that has been born into reality by the graces of women and the womb. Born into this reality. And now in our taking responsibility for that reality, we are leveraging time and the dispersed awareness of time to understand ourselves as complex figures that are growing either in relationship with one another. The soul and the body grow in relationship with one another through time, or they grow further apart from each other in time. Now, this plays into what I was just saying earlier, how reality is reinforced by church history that is more times than not colluded with the military regimes and then reinforced and rewritten after the fact. Just like the Bible was written years after the fact by a bunch of random fucks. Reality reinforced by community heritage. That's way different. Why is that way different? Dark Wizard, Master, Daddy, Disney.
Brother, this guy stinks!
Because this is what the colonizer cannot have. This is the soul of your people, your culture, through the ancestors, through the elders, through the stories that you tell, through your niche perception of reality, through how your indigenous people saw the world and saw each other, human beings, and cared for each other in the like. Now I'm going to get to a very important part of this video. This might be the most important part of it all. All right? I know this is going to be a 3-hour video too. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to make them this long, but then I realized, like, I'll just clip them. Like, you have to hear all this. I'll just clip them. And if you don't have time, bro, like, fuck it. I'll clip them even more. But it's just like, you have to see these videos. You have to get all this, bro. Like, this is like me and you, like, we having sex, and it's like, and like I just, like, you just came one time and you're like, okay. Or I just came one time and I'm like, okay, I'm done now. Like, what? You, as the lady in question, I mean, you're supposed to go like 20 times, like 10 times. I'm being dead honest with you. And me, I need like 2 or 3, bro, before I go to bed. So like, what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to give you all of me, and then I'll condense that after I've given you all of me into more applicable formats. But I'm tired of trying to fit myself into boxes, when I know I'm a free spirit, free soul, just dick out, you know what I mean? And then I'll trim my hedges after. But that's been one thing that's been stunting me and my growth in this reality, just thinking that I could shrink myself and then get acceptance rather than just be the fullness of myself condense that into consumable format, and then allow my audience to find me on much more consumable, comprehensible levels than at the level which I actually live my raw, authentic life at. Especially in this world full of fake ass shit, bro. Instagram reality is what I like to call it. Okay. You saw how I spoke about reality reinforced by community heritage, right? See this thing right here? That's actually not a Star of David. I'm just, because like I did use a Star of David initially, I'm actually not going to use that as long as the New Age Nazi regime is kind of using that as their religious cult. This is just a 6-point star that I was using, but I've ended up just expanding it into, what is it? Into basically a Saturn's cube. So I'll just use Saturn's cube, especially because that number resonates with 6 a lot more than I'm talking now. I'm just talking too much now. I'm talking way too much now. Clip. All right. So the reason why it's so important to speak on reality being reinforced by community heritage, especially as it pertains to the bloodline, is because we have to think about all the different times in history. This isn't all of them, but this is a handful of very significant ones where the this isn't just a blood sacrifice ritual. This is a colonial magic, like black magic ritual that they be doing. But it's a means of saying, you know what, we're going to go colonize your land. And not only will we colonize your land, but we are going to force you guys to have children that we can own. So we can then re-indoctrinate or indoctrinate your children with our psychosis, and then we'll eventually kill off you guys if you don't die on your own time. And then all of your children, even though they look exactly like you, they're going to be talking heads for our culture, our perception of reality, our belief system. That's why religion is the greatest drug on planet Earth. Because you got descendants of slave masters kumbayaing with descendants of slaves in a world where the descendants of the slave masters are probably locked into family trust of like millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And the descendants of those slaves probably have history of health issues and are probably still living in poverty. Don't sit here and tell me that slavery was 500 years ago, bro. You had 500 years to get up, bro. And somehow we still came up neck to neck with y'all fucks. That's weird, bro. That means you guys are nothing. You're not powerful. You're parasites. And you're parasiting off the real powerful people, bro. And you don't want... Clip. I speak on how important the knowledge of the self is through bloodlines, through community, through the village, through your culture. But when the colonizer comes to take it down, how is that experience actualized? I don't know. Maybe going and taking undocumented parents out of their homes, stripping undocumented people from their communities, from their families, forcing their family to just exist without them as if they weren't pivotal parts of the community, of the village, especially in a country where we don't even have villages outside of the family that lives in your same house. Neighborhoods aren't even villages. You see any block parties going on in the white neighborhoods? Never do. But it's funny how you always see their kids in the block parties and the cookouts in the black neighborhoods. And if not there, they're always wanting an invite. ICE raids, stripping parents from their children, then re-indoctrinating the children, if they're citizens, into an Americanized mindset, to hate their immigration status, to hate their parents, to hate what their parents had did when their parents only tried to give them a better opportunity than they had experienced. And more times than not are more credible as it pertains to following the law and paying taxes than a lot of people who do exist in this country. If we had to put who pays taxes and follows the law more responsibly, immigrants or wealthy Americans would lose almost every single time. They just have enough money to pay for propaganda to make it look like all immigrants are rapists and criminals and violent abusers. And these immigrants don't have that time. They don't have the money and the excess resource to put into propagandizing their own mission against these billionaire elites who have nothing but time and money and sex with children. Native schools. We're going to colonize America, and then we're going to send your children into these schools, which we're going to use to test our nutritional standards by basically starving out and poisoning your children. And then we're going to bury all the bodies underneath in some mass burial beneath the school in some random yard because those kids didn't deserve anything. Like the more you learn about colonialism, these people are the devil. They are actualization of the devil, bro, in human form. And if they are not that, if they're not possessed by the devil, they're worshiping the devil behind the scenes. And that's why I made that claim of these people smoking meth and speaking to aliens. I don't care about a devil and a god anymore, bro. There is a malintentioned influence that has possessed all of big tech. And they think that they are, in their insecure brains, they think that they really have access to the God tool, like the Thanos Infinity Stone ring. Gauntlet, my bad. They really think so. Slave auctions. Yeah, you remember how slaves used to give birth to children and then those children used to get sold off to other slave masters? How difficult would it be for somebody 2 or 3 generations down? Let's not even talk about 10 generations down from that type of living. How difficult would it be to find out where you're really from? How difficult would it be to find out where your bloodline even originates in that type of circumstance when your last name, your last fucking name is not even yours. It's the name of your slave master. And the person who bought you told you that you will know nothing of where you came from or who you are outside of what I tell you you are. It's about disrupting bloodlines and then forcing disrupted bloodlines to believe in made-up belief systems that reinforce the desired reality or the desired end goal of the colonizing force at the mercy of the reality of the people who have been colonized. Using any potential gift that these people who have been colonized could potentially have to support the mission of the people who have orchestrated the game. Final group. You guys might not want to see them in this, but this just came up to me like a couple hours ago. So it is pretty freaking hilarious, all right? Ellis Island. That was the next step. And you guys might not want to see it as this, right? But this is me willing to see white people as more than just these colonizing demon animals. The reason why I say Ellis Island was a means of cutting off bloodlines, but this doesn't pertain to people of color, this pertains to white people, are because these divergent forms of white people, whether it's the Irish, the Germans, this people, they were offered an opportunity. You will either be humanized for considering yourself now white race and abandoning your cultural respect and aspects beyond this limited identity, or you will be at the mercy of being like them. And who am I pointing at? Black people, because that's literally the ultimatum for everybody. Either act like you're white so you can be accepted by white people, or get punished like you're a black person. Because we've just collectively agreed that black people are deserving of the utmost punishment and disrespect when this world is literally built off of our backs. Black people are so good at building. We built the pyramids of Giza, and these people still think that aliens built them. They just refuse to admit that when human beings in authority actually are intelligent or actually have a mind inside their brain to visualize the potential of what power can be beyond just controlling and dominating lesser powerful people, you can do some pretty complex things in this reality. When you're not farming human beings with these fake medical experiments and poisoned food and destroying them with 50 weeks a year of capitalism, there's some different things you can do. But it can't be black people, because then they're gonna realize that clip. Okay. Personally, what I believe, why a lot of people, even in knowing this, can still fall victim to the colonial timeline, is because that is comfortable. It's set. It's finite. It's in place. It makes sense for a mind that doesn't want to think complex or can't expand into complex. We, as neurodivergent people who are already not being served by the current state of the system, by the current form, structure of reality, and how it just abandons us completely, we might as well offer ourselves an opportunity to perceive reality differently, right? Because maybe in humanizing ourselves, we give ourselves an opportunity to accommodate ourselves. And maybe in our own accommodation, we can offer other people insight on how they can accommodate themselves differently, and then maybe change the world in that way. By changing our own reality, not necessarily by needing to outwardly scream, I need rights, I need rights, I need rights. Maybe we need to test ourselves. Maybe we need to experiment with ourselves to understand what we need, to explore on our own time what we need, and then present our findings to the collective with experience, with traction, with support, with evidence. That's how we start changing the world, by taking initiative for changing our own lives, if that's what we're unsatisfied with. Don't just trauma bond with other people who hate their lives too, because you might find the answers to yours and then realize, I'm not friends with these other people who hate their lives just because they hate their lives, because I just realized they don't care to look for solutions to their problems. They just care to hate their lives. And I found a solution, meaning that my life is going to change. And because my life's going to change, I don't have to complain about the same problems that I'm complaining about anymore. So I can't relate to this other person who needs problems in their life to complain, because I don't have problems. Now I have new opportunities that I can pursue and find inspiration or fulfillment in. And that's going to distort a lot of your relationships in reality. Now, I don't believe that we collectively should be trying so hard to start like a new Black Panther movement or a new civil rights era. We shouldn't be trying to do that yet, because we genuinely don't know what type of people care about their own humanity enough to care about promoting that. All we know is that we've had a bunch of protests in the past year and nothing has gotten done. I think it's almost like protests are almost like sports events, like sports rallies for white liberals. Like the same way that some idiot drunkard likes to go to like watch the Packers play football or something, it's the same way like these white liberals who just listen to like political theory all day in their bedroom or in their little like their classrooms, and then they come out into the world and they're just like, yes, I attended something and there's a picture of me standing in the street with a sign. Like, okay, everyone's going back to work tomorrow. Nobody's life's changed, but you got a photo op. Whoop-de-fucking-do. For those of us who've already accepted this fucked up reality, let's transform how we view it for ourselves, and then let's try to see if we can integrate that into the world that we're living in. How about that? Is that cool? We rocking with that? All right. Sorry, guys, there's just so many damn notes here. Like, that's why these videos are so damn long, bro. Like what you think is we doing, bro? This ain't gonna be this ain't gonna be easy, bro. This ain't gonna be easy, bro. But I'm not trying to be Poe either, so. Okay, let's make sure this is still recording, because obviously, you know, this shit hates me. Oh. All right. Damn, I took all year in this bit. I took all right. I like to look at, I should have put this in a different color. I'm sorry. I like to look at higher self, lower self, inner soul, outer shell. That's how I like to look at the self-concept. I have a self-concept to self-actualization series that I'm actually going to continue to edit. And I'll add some new shit in there. But it's a 6-hour lecture. And it's honestly pretty dope. Lots of these perspectives that I'm giving are in there. So go check that out. Because it's hot. And I'm hot. And you're hot. So let's all be hot together. But let's start with the first, top to bottom. Your higher self and your lower self are not fighting against each other. This is why I hate the people that say, like, they're doing, like no fap, and people who are doing like, they're trying to punish themselves for having human desires. Okay, I don't hate people who do no fap. I'm just trying to say, you can't punish yourself for being a human. You should punish yourself for breaking rules or breaking agreements that you made with your humanity or society, like social contracts. That's where the punishment should come in, to reinforce that you don't do that. But you're taking this high, like this moral ground over your own self, so much so to the point where you can't even do anything in this life. You can't even feel certain emotions because you feel like it's wrong to be human. You feel like it's wrong to long for somebody who may not love you the same way you love them. That's human. You feel like it's wrong to care so much for somebody, you want to have sex with them. That's human. You feel wrong because you have actual hatred towards the social system because poverty is legitimized and poverty is something that makes no sense to anybody. That's real, bro. In my perspective of spirituality and self-actualization, we don't allow the duality of self to fight against each other, and then we become lost in our own inner battles. We allow them to support each other. We allow the light to support the darkness by complementing it. We allow the darkness to support the light by complementing it, recognizing that both forces can't exist without each other, even though they're opposing each other. All right? Because refusing to accept that within ourselves only puts us in a position to literally gamble up our own confusion to hope that other people's validation will give us the clarity that we can't provide ourselves or we can't achieve by our own merit. Which we don't get every answer on our own, which is cool, but we still have to be able to be willing to achieve it on our own merit so we aren't at the mercy of other people constantly feeding us our salvation, constantly feeding us what we need because we can't grab it on our own. People love taking advantage of people like that. I like to look at the higher self as the dreams, the full capacity of the dreams that I have in this life, and the lower self as the desires, not the demons, the desires of the flesh. Because we are a mix, we are a consequence of energy and form. So where I believe our energy has the potential to dream crazy visions and bring those into the world, our fleshly desires also have the capacity to be very animalistic, very violent, for lack of better words, but very untamed. That's a good word. But our awareness of all that is and knowing that's just a part of our humanity and the animal nature of our human shell, mammalian shell, then we can start to lean on our dreams and our higher self as to be more aware of falling susceptible to our lower self. Because at the end of the day, it's to keep other people safe. That's why we control ourselves. We keep other people safe. But even more importantly, if we can control ourselves, it's a lot harder for us to be taken advantage of by other people who love to control others. That's even more important than you trying to inflict trauma on other people, I think. But if you can reinforce that you hold yourself responsible and accountable for your own behaviors, so you can't inflict negatively on other people. But literally, you are simultaneously protecting yourself from being a victim of that same controlling nature, abusive, exploitative nature from other people. Interesting. You do one thing positive for yourself, you're opening the door for infinite possibilities of positivity. But you can't do that one thing right, nothing works. Or you're constantly on a hamster wheel, chasing from others what you can only give yourself, leaving you existentially unfulfilled or depressed, because it doesn't matter how many people you run through, whether it's the first person, the 10th person, the 100th person, all of them can have sex with you and you can still feel exactly the same after the 100th person that you felt after the first person, meaning it's not about the sex or the physical, it's about the energy and the emotional, and it's about something you're running away from with other people. Other people can only run away from you, with you, so far until you push them away from you, thinking that they are the problem, not knowing that you're only helping them not be further victims of you abandoning you. And I also think that I think the trauma that we go through in our lives is the trauma that we endure is actually it negatively that grounds us into our animal self, and it pushes us into this survival mode. More of like, well, I'm trying to identify myself so I can continue to live. Like that's one of our lizard brain desires. Just constantly thinking about how can I survive and feed myself, because I don't know how long my existence is going to be. But the soul knows it's infinite, so the soul is not concerned with that. The ego, the lizard brain, is afraid that it is going to lose meaning, it's going to lose significance, it's going to lose existence. So it fights for the self at the mercy of the others around it. When the soul says, I'm cool being me, because I'm here, I am me, and you can't tell me anything but that. I am me, and I am here, and I am now, and I'm giving all that is to right now. Now, the next, I don't know if I want to call it dichotomy. I just like using that word. But the next little connection that we'll talk about here, and this will be the final one of the day. So if you stayed and watched this whole video, go ahead and pat yourself on the ass. This is the inner soul and the outer shell. Obviously, you could have just said ego and spirit. But for us right here, we're going to say inner soul, outer shell. Remember how we spoke at some point in this video talking about how reality is just collective belief actualized? Or it's just the actualization of collective belief validated by some type of legitimized institution or social structure that says, okay, well, we've accepted this is reality, so it is, until further notice. I believe that, and I just reinforced it honestly in 10 seconds ago, maybe a minute ago, that inner soul is concerned more with living because it's not concerned with dying, because it knows you don't die. The soul doesn't die. The soul is attaching itself to material to have material experiences that are limited, because it's easier to appreciate an experience that you don't get to hang on to forever than it is something you know you will always have access to. This is why you see a lot of people cheating on their wives, bro. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not a real thing. People be cheating on their spouses, not because they're making mistakes. Let's be honest here. Children make mistakes. Adults make choices. These people, grown adults who be cheating on their partners, especially long-term partners, these people genuinely in their brain think, I deserve to date other people and to engage with them however I like, while also having the comfort of having something to support my foundation if this shit that I'm chasing out here doesn't work. I want to bring a cake with your name on it to your party, but I want to be the one to eat every slice of it. It's like, if you just want to do that, why don't you just not come to the party, buy your own cake, and stuff your face with it? But they don't think like that because they think about themselves only and then how they can twist a situation that they violated somebody else in to somehow benefit themselves as well. One thing that I haven't said yet in this video is actually this thing right here. This right here. The mind is the divine tool used to balance the body and the soul dichotomy in present form. Mind you, I told you that the soul is infinite, exists on no time. The soul just is and attaches itself to these limited experience, these limited time experience vessels. In our case, it's the body. The reason why it's so important, especially in this age of anti-intellectualism, to take care of your mind, to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep reading, keep listening, keep being inspired intellectually, is because they want you to be so cooked out of fear or out of just chaos and brain rot that the only reality you submit yourself to is theirs. Because apocalypse or not, if you choose the timeline of the people who are running shit right now, you will forever be a slave. They've already organized the people they want to win from this. Everybody else will lose. If you aren't one of them, you will lose. Even the Trump supporters that are supporting him after the whole post-birth abortion. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. They don't realize they're going to lose too. Because even if all the black people, all the women, all the this got eradicated off planet Earth because we're so disgusting and we're so nasty and we're so infantile, the only idiot species left over is them. Because they're the ones who sold out all their peers for the illusion of what the wealthy man was giving them. In the same way, just like an MLM scheme, the wealthy people on Earth are selling out everyday human beings for this alien technology and influence from a species we don't even know exist. The constant sell out, sell out, sell out, sell out, sell out, sell out. Jay-Z becoming a billionaire, selling out every fucking rapper. Sell out, sell out. Diddy becoming a billionaire, selling out, selling out. It's just the greatest game of sellout ever. Until you accept the fact that some people are not supposed to be. What tech is really trying to come to create is a society of scrollers and a society of seekers. People who seek the truth because they understand that nobody will feed it to them, for free at least. And people who scroll in hopes that the truth is given to them in a world where it is so hard to even hear your own personal truth that I can be damn sure that you'll never hear the truth. Especially if you're existing on these digital platforms at the mercy of seeking out the truth from less popular sources in the real world or more unconventional sources in the real world. Yep. Yep. That's how we do it.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
This is why I'm always going to speak on stay smart, stay intellectual. And again, you don't have to, I love saying this because I know I'm having these intellectual conversations. You don't have to abandon hanging out with your friends, getting drunk on the weekends, having sex with that girl you like or the guy you like. You don't have to abandon the fun parts of humanity to hold yourself to a standard. But I need you to recognize, especially young people, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, you have to recognize that our elders, I'm talking from boomers, Gen X, even millennials, they don't know anything that's going on. Boomers have been living in a fantasy reality and are going to die with that fantasy reality. And when they die, they're the only people supporting this reality, thinking that shit's normal. When more boomers start to die, you're going to realize like none of this shit is normal. And not only is none of this normal, but the things that they've been having access to are so irregularly beneficial that I promise to God, so irregularly beneficial that you would think that they were living like gods in their reality. Personally. But I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you, I'm excited to see what type of culture gets created offline, underground by young people. Because I'm telling you right now, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha and some millennial people, like we are so hungry and so angry at the world that's been given to us. You can't even call it a world that's been given to us. We are so pissed at the cards we've been dealt. I'm telling you right now, if we're given one, the right opportunity, and two, just the right freaking bowling bumpers, just the right bumpers on the lane to just help guide us to the finish line. I'm telling you right now, we will spark the greatest renaissance and revolution that has ever been seen in the Western world. And it's young people waking up to the fact that, dude, I'm sorry, but the racism has never benefited us. The homophobia has never benefited us. The capitalism, sorry, never benefited us. How many of us are in college debt, if not college debt, credit card debt, if not credit card debt, paying $2 a month for a bedroom apartment? Who the fuck does that? Like, rent's getting so bad, I might have to start renting out like an alpaca barn or something, and just start cleaning coop with them. I'm really. I want this video. Actually, I have one more thing I want to share with you guys too. But I want this video to be very important for people who think about this. It doesn't have to be that time isn't real and then you just stop caring about your own life. I want you to be like, hey, their timeline isn't real. It's something that was made up in a lab, just like their Bible, made up in a fucking lab. And getting people to believe in it is the magic. It is not magic. People's belief in it and the consequence of what gets actualized because of it is the magic, okay? Ride with me. My intention with this video, I said it like 6 times already. One of the biggest wishes I have is for people to recognize there is not only a way off of the colonial timeline that is forcing us into this apocalypse, which is not a real apocalypse. It's take over the real world so poor people can't afford to exist in the real world, and they have to exist in the digital reality, and then AI becomes our god. We become completely individualized from each other because existing online is already an individualistic sport. Crabs in a bucket mentality out the booty hole. You're not going to think it's going to get worse with people only existing online, only seeing rage bait, and only seeing crazy radical posts every single day? It's social media and the current form of it basically took MTV and mainstream news and slammed them together and then forced them to have like this bastard child that nobody's going to take care of. And that child is now the president of the United States. I know that I can't prevent a lot of the things that are going to happen in the future. Like what we've been through right now is not even close to what's going to happen. I can't prevent a lot of things that are going to happen, but if we can reconfigure the way that we perceive time, then we give ourselves an opportunity to exist in reality with horrible shit happening, but we still making the impact and the choices that we can to influence where we see fit. I'm going to finish this video. Let me make sure it's still recording. This is 3 hours. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to conclude this video here. Honestly, I'm starting to think like I might have to just make these videos like Like I might just cut these videos up into like 5-6 different videos and then make a playlist and then just add all the videos to the playlist. And then you can just like watch through all the videos. How does that sound? That sounds cool, right? I might actually, and if, no, maybe I'll do the full video and then I'll also do playlist clips of the videos. You guys might like that. But in this final part of our video here, we're going to see how do you create your own time. And as somebody who, again, is falling off of the, I gotta get some weed tonight. Yeah, I gotta go get some weed tonight. Oh, no, actually, this is important. Because I don't know why I totally said this. Or I missed this. It's very important for the future that we're walking into to abandon the whole AI initiative, or at least the pace at which we're running at. We have to abandon the pace that we're running this initiative at. And the reason why I say that, actually, there's actually a billion reasons why. I'm not going to explain them, but I'm just going to say what we can do as a means of abandoning AI. We limit our social media usage, limit to majority things that help us learn and grow into real world change, or at least make real world changes in our lives. We're not using social media so we can exist online. We're using social media to make our real life a better place so we can just be thankful that it exists as a tool instead of an ecosystem. Because social media and the type of bullshit that's being spread on right now is not a place to exist, especially if you're an intellectual. They've given too much power to the ignorant folks. Next, try to use AI as little as you can. If not, just stop using it. If you don't need it for like your business, or you don't need it because you're doing some high complex skill work, don't use it. Because at the end of the day, that's all it's used for. The whole AGI shit, like, oh, we just created consciousness, that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And when they do tell you that they finally achieved it, it's not going to happen because it's going to be some Indian kids working on $2 an hour doing it from their country. They will never create AGI. They will never, ever, ever, ever create that shit. A friend of mine, Annie Altman, you might know that last name, literally made a tweet that said AI is the marketing term. These people know, like, AI is the Trojan horse for all of this social and federal destruction to happen. And then when AI doesn't end up being what AI was supposed to be, all these billionaires run off with not only the money they got invested in them, but also run off with the government bonds that they also stole. Because they reconfigured the government to steal money through military defense contracts instead of keeping money for welfare that people were going to need through this time of the administration. You will always have to remember that. Doge went in to reconfigure, this whole Elon Musk pet project went in to reconfigure finances of the federal government. So federal employees lost their jobs, federal welfare programs were cut unnecessarily, and we could send money to private billionaires and their private companies through government contracts, upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars to people who are already worth multiple billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, from a country whose government is already $37 trillion in debt. And if we go into another war, I guarantee you that'll be 45 trillion in debt before Trump is out of office. And the issue was transgender people are getting rights or are getting money for surgeries. Or we're sending money to poor kids in Africa and it's getting stolen by the government. Okay, apparently, even if that was real, those were lies, but even if that was real, both of those are still much, much more valid reasons to give government money to than giving government money from taxpayers who are already poor and in debt to people who are multi-billionaires. You have to be a fucking idiot to think that a wealthy person stealing money is going to have any intention of giving it back to you. Fucking idiot. we need the final thing we could do is fight for affordable and accessible real world experiences, especially for the kids. The kids need to be at the parks. The kids need to be playing with their friends. The kids need to be at workshops and exploring things, doing hobbies, extracurriculars on the weekends. The imagination needs to be vital, needs to be shooting up. The creativity, the dreaming, the engagement, the collaboration, the networking, the communication skills that are developed need to be priority for young people, especially young children at this time. Using your human skills, learning how to, even if it's right. Think of who's writing cursive in elementary school anymore? Nobody. How many of them are typing? It's only a matter of time before you realize that wealthy people, like whenever they like something, they hoard it by increasing the price of access to it. And then they realize that they never came with any of the cultural creativity or nuance. They just came with the money to afford it. And then the culture goes completely out of whatever they started investing their money into, and they wonder why everything sucks. I think there's a term for that called like enshittification process of capitalism. And then wealthy people go, well, it just wasn't cool. Well, maybe because you priced all the people who actually cared about that out of it. Okay. So what are we doing if we're going to, how are we generally going to address this? Undress this? Okay. I got 3 steps for you right here. Hold on, let me make sure this is it. Okay, there's 3 things I want to tell you, and then I have one more thing I want to tell you. Some homework. 3 things to create your own time. Still the body. Silence the mind. Surrender to your soul. Not surrender your soul. Surrender to your soul as a means of learning, understanding, engaging, developing relationship. And then through your understanding of it through your mind, find out how you can comprehend that into action, into actionable form, and do something about it. Still the body, silence the mind, surrender to the soul, bring back to the mind, actualize through the body. Appreciate in your reality. That's one I like to add right there. Final thing, and I'll just read it off this because we're at the end of this anyway. Your bloodline, your genetic code, and your astrological charts will help you understand your unique place in the universe. But the decisions you make and how you choose to go about that information will determine the potential for your experience. You can be born to a bloodline of kings and royals and emperors. But that can be so overwhelming of an expectation for you to live up to, you end up just becoming a drunk. Straight up. The expectation of greatness can be so overwhelming for somebody who doesn't believe in themselves or doesn't know that that is what they have the capacity to be, that they will spend their entire lives running away from or distracting themselves from the responsibility of becoming that which they're supposed to be or that which they're destined to be. It's crazy when you imagine, when you really sit here to think, not only how many people, if not more intellectual, just as intellectual as Einstein, were slaves on plantations. But Einstein happened to be living in damn near a fucking his classroom instead of being forced to be a slave on a plantation. So the intellect of our slaves never was seen, never appreciated, and it never would be appreciated. I want us as I'm just going to leave with this final note that I wrote because I think this is beautiful. And like, if I do too much explaining, this will be another hour. Your responsibility to hear the calling of your soul and, oh, forgive me, I said it all wrong. It is your responsibility to hear the calling of your soul. And from there, you will either commit to manifest its dreams or you will cope with escapism and external validation. That's sexy. That's sexy. Okay, well, I've been in here way too long, obviously, if you couldn't tell. This is another extremely long episode. I don't apologize for that. You guys deserve them. But this is nice, bro. This is real nice. I think that I'm glad that we take the time to do 2-3 hours long ass videos, just because all the information's in them. Everything's in them. It's that they're all locked and we're chilling. Like, I don't have to go and keep explaining this 800 fucking times now. Like, I explained everything in this video. Everything that you could possibly need to know. Other than maybe 1 or 2 things that I offered you an opportunity to ask questions in the comments, you should know. Oh, yeah. All right. What do you think about it? What do you think about it? Are you somebody who is going to be at the mercy of the Yakubian colonial timeline that's destroying our reality? Or do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that you are more than what this world wants you to be, expects you to be? And are you believing that into yourself? If so, reality is at the mercy of you. Straight up. Time goes through you, but you are what's infinite. These people are finite, nigga. These people who are getting eroded by reality are more times than not afraid of reality. We aren't. We love reality, so we live in alignment with it. We work in alignment with it. We accept it for what it is, and we actualize ourselves through it, and it's chaos. Because we know there's only one life you have, bro. And do you really think that heaven can be the cop-out to a life truly lived? And imagine how disappointed you'd be when you find out that heaven's not real. All right, catch you later.